Welcome back, people. Welcome back to another video. How y'all been doing? Hope everyone's been doing well, especially around the holiday season. Christmas coming up. But before we get to the fun, recently I just finished Breaking Bad season 5. Now I'm like almost a decade late. And after I finished the season, one of the characters that really stood out to me was Flynn, or Walter Jr. He had a disability, I believe it was cerebral palsy. And Breaking Bad was one of the first shows to where that character's disability not only didn't define them as a character, their whole life was revolving around their disability. Like, for example, he was able to drive, he had many friends. You know, the really only weird thing about his life was his dad was a kingpin, drug dealer. But other than that, yeah, Breaking Bad was one of the first times I saw where they gave a character with a type of disability and they made them live a normal life, like how, you know, sometimes, most times that's actually is. People with disabilities are just as normal as everybody else in the world. But a lot of times I see films and TV shows over-exaggerate their struggles, or they victimize them, they make them look weak. That's not a thing. There's a strong, even stronger than able-bodied people. They're able to do just about anything an able-bodied person can do, and if not, they overcome them. I see a lot of that from my personal experiences, from people I know who overcame their disabilities to people who are still struggling with them today. They are strong-minded people. And a lot of time I feel like Hollywood doesn't represent them the best. And one of the first things I believe is the reason because of that is because oftentimes they don't research or outsource or get information from the people who actually deal with their disabilities and deal with the struggles of the characters they're trying to write. So there's like some statistics that about 20% of America, of the US, has some type of disability. But Hollywood only has 2.5% of actors who have a disability. And the representation is terrible. Oftentimes, we see a lot of movies and TV shows have characters played by actors who don't have any type of disability that they're portraying on camera. And most time those actors are, you know, maybe doing research or talking to people who do have those disabilities. But it's a shame to where they can't find actors who actually have those disabilities to play those characters. That's why Breaking Bad stands out to me so much. You know, Breaking Bad is an incredible series, honestly, top 10 in my opinion. But you know, one thing I keep saying is Flynn, Walter Jr. His character was played by R.J. Mint III, who actually has cerebral palsy. He actually has that disability that his character is playing. And that's one of the things I really don't see in Hollywood, is that representation of people who actually live in those experiences play those roles. It was IZZY Armstrong in Coronation Street, Becky Jackson in Glee, Mr. Wrench from Fargo, Sally Whopper from Calling the Midwife. All actors who actually have those disabilities playing those roles. And honestly, that's how it should be. Then there are some actors, some able-bodied actors like BRYAN CRANSTON playing a person stuck in a wheelchair in The Upside. And that's probably like one of the easiest examples off the top of my head. But I'm quite sure you've seen this many, many times. I forgot the dude who played Forrest Gump. You know, Forrest Gump had a mental disability. And I think a physical disability somewhere in the movie at first, but again, they've had the child actors and adult actors both play Forrest Gump that didn't have any type of disability. And that's a major thing that needs to be changed in Hollywood. There's gonna be an over-exaggeration. Disability needs to be normalized. And just to bring out the example I just said, in the Upside, the main character is paralyzed and needs assistance by Kevin Hart's character to be able to do daily functions. That would have been a perfect situation to have a actual actor that's paralyzed to play that role. And when we have these roles played by people with those disabilities, we can also be more empathetic towards them. Bringing up the upside again, early in the film, there was a situation to where CRANSTON was falling out the wheelchair, and Kevin Hart was trying to help him out the wheelchair. And this was played as a joke, you know, this was supposed to make people laugh in the movie theaters, but that's nothing funny about that. That's someone's struggle. That's someone who's actually dealing with that every day in their own life. And they see in the Hollywood play this as a joke. That's saying that their life is a joke to them. And that's not right. It's humiliating, dehumanizing to see someone be portrayed as that. Physical disabilities and mental disabilities, they can't be mimicked or used as a joke or as a plot device. And there's this argument, you know, saying that actors are supposed to be able to play anybody, you know. If I grew up poor in my personal life, I should be able to play a very rich, important man in a movie because I'm an actor. And you know, some people ask, where's the line drawn, you know? But we can already see, when we're representing minorities in movies, it's best to have people that come from that background. Just as back in the day, you know, maybe it used to be fine for a white person to play a black man in a film, but that wouldn't be okay these days, at least to most people, and it shouldn't be okay. Just like it shouldn't be okay for an able-bodied person like myself to play an actor or a character in a wheelchair. There's too many people out there who actually have those struggles and deal with them every single day that can actually do the best in that role.
Why is Bryan Cranston playing a disabled person? Why didn't they get a disabled person to play a disabled person? And I'm not gonna lie, my first instinct, because I love Bryan Cranston, my first instinct immediately, I was like, are you being serious? I was like, God, come on, man, we're going too far now. I was like, you can't, like, the actors are gonna act. You can't, like, the whole point of act, if we get everyone who is the thing to be the thing, then it's not acting, then it's just a thing, it's a documentary. Like get the act, that's the whole point of acting. You know, and I was like, come on, man, we're going too far. Of course he's gonna play the person. And then, you know, obviously online, everyone just swears at each other. Nobody speaks anymore. No one has a conversation that's nuanced. But there was one actor who is in a wheelchair, and I didn't know of him. I don't know who he is. He just wrote a really cogent, beautiful response online. Didn't fight with anybody. Didn't call anybody anything. Didn't judge anybody. And he completely opened my eyes to a perspective I never thought of. He said, I understand what an actor is. I too am an actor. He said, but I'm an actor in a wheelchair. And I never see parts that are leading roles for a person in a wheelchair. And so the one time I see a role where there's a person in a wheelchair, I think, wow, this could be it. This could be the moment where I have all of the tools necessary to play this part. Do I get a shot at playing it? And he was like, because when you think of it on the flip side, they never call people with wheelchairs in to play able-bodied people, and they'll get able-bodied people to play people in wheelchairs. And I was like, snap, I never thought of it like that. You know, my perspective, obviously, as someone who is not in a wheelchair, I never thought of it that way. And I sat there and I was like, it's powerful because you don't think about representation, you don't think about how important it is for people to see themselves on screen like in a real way. And at the same time, I don't think Bryan Cranston did anything wrong. You know, I don't think everything has to be a fight. It's just like a moment to be like, hey, maybe next time in Hollywood, people can look at that and go, maybe you can get a relatively unknown actor to play that role, and then put an A-lister opposite them. Maybe it becomes their breakout. Maybe this becomes the thing that blows them up. And that's where you realize like how powerful representation is.
So my plight with Hollywood is, whenever you are looking for a role, ask yourself, is it plausible to cast someone who has that exact condition? Ask yourself, how many disabled actors have you even invited to audition for that role? So rather than going down this rabbit hole and making a division between people with disabilities in Hollywood, there needs to be room for more discussion. As a lot of things in life, they are another minority that's sadly underrepresented in society, and especially Hollywood itself. And once we have that discussion, not only I, but we all can learn a lot from it. And so let's take a note from what Breaking Bad actually did. It normalized disability in Hollywood. Peace.